So today is a little bit different. We're going to talk about the 2018 kind of bear cycle going into 2020 in terms of the cycle bottom, and most importantly, what I did throughout that bull market, the mistakes, the good things, the horrific decisions that I made as well. I'm going to go through it all, as well as personal life issues which caught me out. So my name is Ash and welcome to the channel. If you've not yet done so, please leave a like on the video. It does help. But this video hopefully should give you some nice perspective in terms of what could happen in any bull or any bear market, especially when personal circumstances come to the fore. So throughout this video, I want to explain that this is not financial advice. This is not going to be showcasing the amount of money that I did make. I will say some sums just to give you a bit of context, but reality is it's mainly going through what I had at the time, most of it anyways, essentially what I can remember, and why I bought it, why I sold it, going off memory. Some of it, I do have some information and some data in terms of data that I roughly bought at, but you get the idea. Most of it is about two things: keeping capital in the bear market and deploying it before the bull market starts. I was incredibly fortunate to be in this market when I was, and I am very, very lucky to still be here essentially. I just want to remind people that everyone is different, everyone has different circumstances, everyone started their journey at a different time, but feel free, if you've not yet done so, check out my company Learning Crypto. Premium is £10 a month now. You get everything for that price. Definitely worth a look. Check out the link below. So let's start. Let's go into it on the screen. It's going to be a pretty normalistic video, this one. Not much editing going on. Just me talking. It might be long. I do like to talk a lot. I like to scream into the void a little bit. It's like therapy for me. So yeah, let's go through some of my mistakes, some of my good stuff, but most importantly, the reason why I survived in this market. So here we are, everyone, screaming into the void. Welcome to the Market Mobster channel, where you're going to listen to some story time, essentially. Now, this is a random list that I've put together. Now, this is off memory. I may have missed some. Now, these are what I genuinely remember at some point during this time period buying. But let's go back a step. I did a video not too long ago. I say that, it was nearly 3 years ago now, talking about 2017, 2018, the bull cycle, how I went from zilch to $250,000 pretty quickly, and I didn't know what to do with it. It's great. Still didn't. When you think about it, when I think back and think, wow, that was amazing. Wow, it was hard. And it was, right? Now, when we look at that, we had a year of nothingness where I was literally scrambling, losing a bit of money. I very obviously put some money aside for me to, create my company, Learning Crypto. I built this in the bear market, right? Mentioned it before. It's today's video sponsor. You want to learn from me and Gaz? You can, right? So we created this, I think it was the 12th of November, 2018. So you can get the idea of where the prices were a week after that. We went from 3K down to 6K down to 3K, sorry. Mad, right? However, with all that happening and like hodling your bags and thinking, oh my God, I was mainly in stables at that point. I had a bit of BTC at the time, didn't have much, but I was literally living off what I basically banked in the previous cycle. So it was dribbling. Now, 2020 comes, let's start the story time. I had $33,000 to play with. That was it. That's all I had. This was roughly in March time, post-COVID crash. Because I remember being sick to my stomach because I had just when you think about it, I put away a decent chunk to live. Was dribbling into it a little bit, doing a little bit of this, that, and the other trading and whatnot. And yeah, it was dribbling away, right? So then I started buying stuff, luckily. Bit scared at first, but the prices on altcoins were still fantastic value realistically. But no one really knew that we were going to go absolutely crazy. As soon as quantitative easing came in, it was like, oh, hello, this has changed the game a little bit. And then that is where everything then changed again. Now, BTC, I held, right? Ethereum, I did not. Ethereum, I was too greedy, very greedy I was, but it didn't really matter in the end, realistically, because I'll tell you what happened with that money in a minute. Now, I was waiting out for a lot lower order. It was $82. I wanted an order at $65, just below 65. I had thought that it could have went even lower than that if we got even more violent. And at the time, when you think about it in terms of March time, negative oil and all that stuff, it could have went anywhere realistically. From $1,400 down to 82, it's a big drop. Could have went even further, right? So that doesn't really bother me too much, right? I do hold it now though, but you get the idea. XRP, I held it. I held on to it for Flare, or whatever it's called. I actually sold it not long before 2020. So it is on here for now, but I did hold it for a bit. It had a nice price pump, and then I sold it. The airdrop meant nothing realistically now. Cardano, I bought a lot of this at 3 cents. A lot of it at 3 cents, right? Not going to reveal how much, but it was a decent chunk, right? You know, in terms of how much I had in equity at the time. If you think of how much it was at 3 cents and how much you can put in, it was a decent chunk of like orders essentially, which was quite nice. However, sold it too early, as you probably know, right? I did sell it about $1.68, which is still a massive gain, but realistically I could have made much more, right? So as I say, I'm not going to go through specifics of how much I did actually put in these because I don't want to give too much away. I like to keep it simple. I like, you know, I don't want people to truly know how well I've done for obvious reasons. You know, I don't want to be that type of person. I hate it. I hate it when people show their wealth. It's like, oh my God, content should show that. Matic. I sold Matic, which is really annoying. Gaz, my business partner over at Learning Crypto, held onto it. There was a lot of jurisdiction problems. There was a lot of rebranding issues as well. There was a lot of things happening at the time, realistically, right? So when you think about India banning crypto all the time, it was annoying and it was dropping significantly. I'll just show you the chart actually. So when we look at the all chart, it was like, it was here. It was like these sort of levels before it pumped, right? Look how low it was. And I did videos. You probably remember my YouTube channel back in 2019. I was doing videos on Matic. I was obsessed with it. I thought it was brilliant. I got footed out of my bags of Matic. I was devastated, but it happens. It's one of those things. You know, you can't win them all. And sometimes, and I've said it before, you will get footed out your bag. So I don't just say it for a fact. It genuinely does happen. Polkadot. Bought it a lot later for obvious reasons. I knew about it for a while. I knew it was coming live on the market due to the ICO in 2017 with parity and etc. And the lock that they had like a 3-year lock on it. It was crazy numbers in terms of what they actually did. But yeah, I bought it around $3.95. I think my first ever buy order. And then I was just accumulating. And the famous tweet, dot under $5 is free money. You could probably say that again, essentially, underneath $6, essentially. Crows. Crypto.com. I held the bag, didn't hold a lot of it, but I held the bag for some perks and it did very, very well. I actually made quite a few $1,000 off a very, very small investment because it absolutely blew up. If we look at the chart, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here when it did that. So throughout that time period, I actually had a bit and I just holding on to it and then all of a sudden went crazy value. So we've got to be somewhat aware of that. It's pretty chaotic really when we look at that. VeChain, I bought this incredibly early in the end of March, early April, because I had a bag. I already had a bag of VeChain at the time. I was holding a little bit because I was staking. And then we talk about V4 in terms of the staking capability of it. I actually found my bags of that and made even more money because I totally forgot about it. When we look at this, so obviously VeChain did incredibly well, but V4, its little token that was, aside to it, went mental value, right? It went up absolutely to the moon. So if I'll show you actually, just to show you, right? So yeah, VeChain made money. I sold VeChain very, very early, but later on, everyone in my Telegram group at the time, I don't have Telegram anymore. I do have public Discords now though. Everyone was talking about this going to the moon. It's like, I used to have that. Turns out I still did it. I did have it and it was great. So it doesn't look like much, obviously, because of this massive, this is when the listings happened. But it went from we can see how mental it went. It just went berserk. I can't remember off the top of my head how many X's it was, but it was a lot. It doesn't look like a lot on there, but it was like a good 50, 60X very, very quickly. It was like, what? It's all free money. It's great. Wasn't massive life-changing sums of money, but I had a decent bag of VeChain at the time and it was quite nice. It was a nice little bumper, but, the writing's on the wall really when you look at all that stuff. Mental when you think about it. Anyways, moving on, go back to my other watch list, Zilliqa. So, most people know this. I did very well with Zilliqa. The Ethereum bag that I was going to buy, which was roughly $5,000 at the time, was put straight into Zilliqa. I was like, what is the closest thing that can, give me some good multiples and has something different? Zilliqa at the time, right? I bought it. I knew about it. I was very, very self-aware of it due to when it came out in February of 2018. It came out at literally the peak of the bull cycle into the bear cycle, essentially. That was when it was chaos, right? Did incredibly well with it. I'm not going to reveal fully how much I made, but people know this. It was a ballpark number over 200k off a very, very simple transaction. Now, my dollar cost averaging was pretty good on this because of the GZIL. The GZIL token, which was a staking capability, was offering really amazing returns, and that went to the moon as well. That went to like $500 per GZIL. When you've been staking it for 3-4 months on a really high reward, it's like, wow, that adds up. Guess what you do? You convert it to Zilliqa. Oh, wow. Your base cost average has gone even lower now. So it's pretty good, actually. And then I was slowly distributing and selling. Very, very lucky to when I sold most of my Zilliqa. I did keep a little bit, but not much. But realistically, I put that into another token, which I will talk about in a minute. Reserve rights. Got this a little bit later than I wanted to. I got this around 1 cent. It obviously went up to like 11, 12 cents. Still hold it today. Still really do rate it. But I have made a lot of money off this in the past in terms of like buying when I did, putting profit from other markets or other coins at the time. This is when I was selling the likes of Cardano and VeChain a little bit early, but I was putting them into stuff like this. And it did well. I actually made a decent chunk of money out of it. I was pretty happy with the result, and I've distributed the profits back in, and I'm still holding a bag now. So yeah, reserve rights is pretty good. Another good one that really did well for me was Voyager, even though I know that Voyager's obviously gone bankrupt and stuff, but at the time I knew about it because of the olden days of the old ICOs and the 2017 bull market. It was called Ethos. It was bought out and it was obviously rebranded as Voyager, and it was really low in value. Like it was less than 2 cents, I believe, at the time. This went crazy levels. It was unbelievable how far this run. One of the better ones that I actually got involved in at the time. Obviously, I can't foresee a bankruptcy, but I was out way before that. Again, hold my hands up. I definitely sold this way too early. I only bought it because I saw that it was an old coin. It was rebranded, repackaged, rebought. Didn't put that much into it realistically, but the amount that I put into it became a lot very, very quickly because of obviously what happened. Reef, one of my big mistakes, my big problems. Got very excited at the time with the Polkadot parachain ecosystem. Turns out it was a complete and utter sham scam shitcoin. But hey, it happens, right? Didn't lose much money on it. I think I got out just in profit, not by much though. But yeah, absolute dog shit. Utrust, again, one of my old bags from the previous bull cycle. Had some, I was holding a bag, rebought back low, and yeah, happy days, winning chicken dinner. It did all right essentially when I bought. Can't remember when I bought. It was I think I might have bought about 7 cents. It made a 10x pretty quickly. It's pretty good. Meta Hero, a shit coin, a proper shit coin, a really, really obvious shit coin. But it made me 300 BNB by just being in it, which was amazing. So if you don't know the story, I was a part of a pre-sale on this. It wasn't my pre-sale. Operation Crypto gave me 5 BNB allocation. I was like, yeah, sweet. This was obviously an unbelievable thing, but I didn't expect it to do what it did. Going from 5 BNB to 300, I can't remember how many weeks it was, maybe about 12, 16 weeks at the time. Crazy. And I got out early. I got out at like 12, 13 cents. This went up to like 25, 26, I think. So I could have made even more. I could have easily made 600 if I got out much higher. You win some, as I say. You lose some in terms of profits. But the reality is profit is profit. Pluton. This was when I was pretty excited about cards. And so I then realized that, wow, if you do your tax bills, it's pretty crazy when you're doing cards. Really rated it, but I'm not really too keen on it now. Bought this very, very early on. It's done very, very well. It's actually held its price pretty well. Volume's relatively low though, so that's probably why, essentially liquidity issues. But in terms of like a UK company that's been around for a while, yeah, it has been around for a while. But for me, yeah, I've kind of got a bit caught in the emotions with this one. Certainly when you look at the supply, certainly when you look at the opportunity of mass adoption, it just didn't happen. Realistically didn't happen. Multivac. The alternative to Zilliqa, this was where I put my remaining little bag of Zilliqa into Multivac. It actually moved. It did very, very well for a little bit, funny enough. And the reality was, which was as interesting as it is, it was pretty good. But overall, the problem with it, it just fell off a cliff because it was just hype. It was just basically hype and stuff like that. So I got in, I made some money, and I got out pretty simply. On Federal Reserve, horrendous again. My own downfall, caught in the emotions, the mental returns that it could have obviously potentially achieved. It obviously did not. But that's, for me, is just one of those things. You all get caught up. And I'm trying to show this video to show that we're all, like, you know, no one can like escape it. No one can escape human emotions. Certainly when it comes to finance. So it just happens. And the final one, obviously, Giesel, as I said before, went to like $500. It was absolutely crazy. This governance token, absolutely madness. So that's roughly in terms of my bags. But I want to talk about personal circumstances as well in all of this, because this is where a lot of my mistakes also came from. In this time period, I had a lot going on. I had a separation from my girlfriend at the time. This was just due to like nothing bad. It was just essentially circumstances of like wanting different things. She now lives in Australia, so I just give you an idea of how apart we were. So yeah, that kind of happened. But this happened at the end of 2020, right at the start of 2021. So you can imagine my bags were packed. I was like, yes, I'm self-employed. I've got a house. There's a problem there. When you're trying to get a mortgage at the time, which I was, it was crazy. It was crazy because they were like, oh, you've only been self-employed for like less than 18 months, 2 years. You need to put some more money down. So I had to pull money out of crypto and put it into my house. Therefore, that then leaves me with a bit of a hole in my portfolio. I also had to give her money as well as a part of the deal for like, you know, the separation element of it, which is pretty crazy. So again, more money was forked out. So I didn't make as much money as I should have technically, if we're looking at it that way. And that's why I'm talking about personal circumstances. Everyone has a different story and a different thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I did very, very well. Very well. Probably better than most people, essentially, because of when I got out. Most people know this, but I got out in that October time. I got out in November and December of that time period. Unfortunately, I should have got out a little bit quicker in November, but other circumstances in terms of my friend passing away made me lose all, you know, sense of the charting and what was happening because other things were more important at the time for obvious reasons, right? The reality is, though, to people watching this, anything can happen in your life and it could become less or more important as a chart or whatever it may be, right? Taking profit is fine. Sometimes dwelling on it sucks and you shouldn't be. Even though I just said that I could have made more, but the reality was I still made money. I didn't just give up. I didn't just quit. And the reality is here, a lot of people, I think, in the next coming months will start to quit. The reason being is because the market won't move. They'll be like, oh, I'm just done with this. Gone. What's the point? What's the point of this at all? So you've got to be in it to win it. Investing is hard. It is not easy. It looks easy when you're on YouTube. I have literally just said majority of my mistakes, and a lot of them were pretty bad. You only need a couple of winners to become a legend, let's be honest here, or change your life or whatever. You can have one asset that does 100x. If you put like 3 or 4 grand in an asset that does 100x and all your other ones do shit, you've won, reality-wise, right? So you got to look at that. But yes, unfortunate circumstances happened. There is other circumstances that I'm not going to go into on this channel publicly to do with other bits and pieces. But the reality was I had 3 kicks in the ghoulies at the time. It wasn't nice. And yeah, that was probably why I was a bit miserable in the last 2 years because of obviously what was going on. But I survived. The key caveat to all of this and going into 2022 and obviously into this year now, 2023, is about survival with your capital. All the capital that I took out of this market in 2021 through that whole time period of 2020 and hodling and watching the numbers go to the moon, I've kept majority of it. Yes, I put it back in the market now, as in a couple of weeks back, a couple of months back, gradually just drip feeding it in. And I'm happy with my buy orders. My average orders for this new cycle coming up is pretty good. Even if we go lower beforehand, I've still got money I can use and utilize and put in the market. That's fine. If there's ever a black swan, it could happen. But I think I'm ready for the next cycle now. Whether that happens in 6 months, whether that happens in 12 months or 18 months, I'm happy to sit and stake. So hopefully there'll be another part of this video where we'll talk about from 2023 to, 2022 to 2025 or whatever, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Screaming my guts into the void. But yeah, I hope you enjoy.